Welcome back to Foothills Militia, and today we're just going to be talking about swim jig. The swim jig is one of my favorite baits, one of my confidence baits that I think I can pick up at almost any pond, lake, reservoir, watershed, river, creek, anything, catch fish on it. It's just that good of a bait. And I've already tried to do this video a couple of times. I didn't write bullet points down like I did in this one. And I always forgot just one or two things. So I believe I got everything wrote down this time. And I hope I get everything in this video. The reason I'm making this video is because here lately I've been trying to throw big swim baits like the 6-inch Osprey and the River to Sea S-Waver 168. And there's a lot of good videos about how to throw them. It's just they all leave out one or two things. One or two important things like the hook set, what water depth to throw it in, and what time of year to throw it. Just a lot of videos miss things like that, and I think those are very important for building confidence in baits. And the swim jig is a bait that I think, a lot of people throw it, but a lot of people that are just now getting into bass fishing or just now getting into swim jigs, they can have a hard time finding a good video on it. And this is one of the baits that I've watched a couple of videos on it, but I've really just learned how to do it myself, just through trial and error and figuring out what works for me. That's a big thing with baits, but you do need a good video. It took me a while to learn how to fish a swim jig, and I lost a lot of fish fishing it because I didn't know what rod, line, reel, and how to set the hook on it. So maybe I can help, if I just help one person get more confidence in a swim jig, this video will have done everything I wanted to do. So, like I said, in this video I'm going to cover what gear I throw it on, what jig I throw it on, what colors I throw, what trailers I throw, when and where to throw it, what time of year to throw it, water depth, presentation, hook set. I'm going to try to cover everything. And, well, we might as well get started. Gear, the line, I throw it on either 15-pound Seaguar InvizX fluorocarbon. 15-pound fluorocarbon, just your personal preference, whatever line that you like the best. I throw it on fluorocarbon when I'm fishing in open water and not fishing around real heavy cover, and because you get more casting distance, and then it's better to throw fluorocarbon in clear water because fishing swim jig is pretty quick and they don't get a good look at it, but if it helps you get one extra bite, it's worth it. And I don't think you're really losing much on fluorocarbon other than just the pure power that you get with braid. So I throw it on braid if I can get away with it, and if I'm fishing around, if I'm not making real long casts through grass patches or sparse grass, I go with braid. You don't get the casting distance with braid, and it's a little bit aggravating to deal with. But if you throw this thing up around a dock and a 5-pounder comes out from across from the dock, swims in, hits it, swims under that dock, I have no doubt that I can get that 5-pounder back out from under that dock and in the boat, in the carpet with braid. Because if you bass fish for any time or any amount of time, you know that braid is the strongest line. And on braid, I go with 30 to 40-pound Power Pro. I don't throw Power Pro slick on bait casters, I only throw it on spinning reels. But just regular moss green 30 to 40-pound Power Pro braid. That's what I throw swim jig on. That's my line choice. Now my rod, whenever I'm throwing fluorocarbon in open water, I go with a Lew's Mach 2 speed stick, 7-foot medium heavy fast. Just because you get a little bit extra casting distance, and this rod is pretty light. It's lighter than the Dobbins that I got over here. I got a 7-foot medium heavy fast Dobbins, and this is by far a lot lighter than that Dobbins. Dobbins is a good rod, it's just not as light. Again, 7-foot medium heavy of your choice. It don't really matter. This is just my choice. 7-foot Mach 2, but your favorite 7-foot rod. That's why I throw in open water with fluorocarbon. And whenever I'm throwing braid, I use a 610 heavy fast FX custom rods. This rod right here, what I like about it is whenever you're sitting there pumping a swim jig or just reeling it, and if that fish hits it and it doesn't thump it, or you don't feel it hit it and it just kind of loads up, this rod has enough tip to where you don't pull the jig out of the fish's mouth with it, but because you know braid has no give in it at all. You don't pull it out of the fish's mouth because it's got enough tip where you can feel it before you miss that fish. And the 610, it's just a little bit, it's a lot lighter than the 7-foot, which, I mean, that's pretty light, but I'm just saying this is lighter. If you have trouble working a swim jig for long periods of time, I might just go with a 610. You lose a little bit of casting distance, but it ain't enough to really affect anything. And this rod does have plenty of backbone. As I said, it's heavy, not a medium heavy like a 7-foot. It's got plenty of backbone to drive that hook home and drive it home enough to where I'd feel good boat swinging a 5-pounder on this setup right here. So there's my rods that I throw them on. Now my reels, both of them are just, well, this is a Daiwa Tatua 7 to 3, and that one's a 7 to 2, but in that 7 to 2, 7 to 3, 7 to 5 range, it's all good. It's all good. So a high-speed reel, I might consider a 6 to 8, but I'd rather have some type of 7 gear ratio reel. That's my reel I throw it on, and that one right there is just a old Bass Pro reel, $60 reel. But what jig I throw? Okay. I throw the Dirty Jigs Tackle No Jack Swim Jig in 3/8. 3/8 is the only size I throw. I think it's perfect. It's just what I have the most confidence in. 3/8 ounce Dirty Jigs No Jack Swim Jig. And the colors I throw it on is my personal favorite right here, the one that I feel like I could pick up and catch a fish off of any body of water in the United States. Is bluegill, just regular bluegill. That's actually what I have tied on the 610 right there. And my second favorite color is the, again, 3/8 No Jack Swim Jig in black and blue. That's my second favorite. And my last but not least, I like those two better. I have more confidence in those baits, but I could also pick this up and catch fish at any body of water in the United States. It's some type of shad pattern. You don't have to be real specific with this color. It's just any kind of shad pattern. This right here, I believe, is called Spot Killer or something like that. I'm not sure, but some type of shad color swim jig. Trailers. I throw exclusively a Zoom Z-Craw Jr. On the bluegill, I throw Huckleberry. On the black and blue, I throw Blue Sapphire most of the time, but I couldn't find Blue Sapphire the other day, so I just got black and blue. That's mine. There's just a black and blue one on that. And I couldn't find any white Z-Craw Juniors or Chartreuse Z-Craw Juniors the other day. So right now I have a Rage Menace on the back of this one, which is a very good swim jig trailer, but I do prefer the Z-Craw Junior. And now the when and where to throw it. I throw it anytime that the fish, well, it's my confidence bait, so I throw it all the time. As long as it's not, well, I'm going to get into time of year to throw it here in a second, so I won't cover that. I throw it just about anywhere below 6 to 7 foot of water, kind of below that. 6 and 7 foot is pretty deep for a swim jig, but sometimes I'll just slowly reel it across the bottom, which I'll get into presentations here in a second. It's 2 different presentations. But really, swim jig does great around any type of hard cover, like wood, rock, anything like that. And it does good around grass. It's very good around grass. Like a gunner's bill, I believe that's where the dirty jigs, swim jigs were tested. I'm not sure, but they are, like on Gunnersville, it has milfoil, hydrilla, eelgrass, all of that stuff. It's very good. And I fish White Lake most of the time, and it has that Coosa River grass. I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but it does very good around that. Any type of grass, wood, anything, it does very good. So, and when, tell you the truth, I throw it, whenever I'm throwing a swim jig, I throw it all day. It don't matter if it's 90 something degree, the water temp's 85, whatever. I mean, it could be just boiling hot outside, just miserable. I'll be throwing a swim jig, and I catch fish when it's that hot. The bite is definitely better early morning or late evening, but that mid temp, it's really good. Anywhere from about, I'd say I'd start throwing it in 55 to however hot water temp gets. 55 is about the coldest I throw it, and then whenever I throw it out there, I just kind of either reel it and give it a little twitch every now and then, real slow. But I mean, really, you throw it about any time other than the just dead of winter, freezing cold. Like I'm down here in Alabama near Wise Lake, Neely, so our lakes don't freeze over. I throw it about any time except for when it's just freezing cold outside. What time of year? Like I said, I throw it any time of year except for when it's freezing cold. I kind of already covered that. Water depth, I already covered that. It's 6 to 7 foot, the deepest I'd throw it. And, well, it could be like on Gunnersville, it could be 10, 12 feet deep, and there'd be grass growing. And if that grass comes up to 6, 7 foot, or 2 foot beneath the surface, or an inch beneath the surface, I throw a swim jig on. Just because it's 12 foot deep, but there's grass at 6 or 7, I'd still throw it. Presentation. Really, there's 2 types of presentations I'd throw. Well, really 3, but 2 mainly. First, and my favorite, is called the Alabama pump. You just throw your swim jig out there and you do this. You just pump your rod back and forth on a kind of a slack line. So instead of making that swim jig hop up and down, that slack line is actually making it go up and down and side to side. That swim jig is doing this in the water. So it looks like it's running from something, and that will trigger a bass to eat it even if they don't want to eat it. Because they think, well, something else is about to eat that shad or bluegill, so I might as well eat it first before they can get to it. That's very good for pressured fisheries. That's what I'd throw on lice if I was fishing it right now. And the whole deal with a swim jig is just if they're not actively feeding, you can make them eat. So with the Alabama pump, you can make them eat. And the other one is, the two main ones. It's the Alabama pump, and another one is the most simple. And if you're just getting into swim jig fishing and you want to catch a couple of fish before you really start getting into the Alabama pump, you can just throw it out there and reel it. If it starts getting hung in the grass, snatch it out of the grass. Or if you're in wood, as soon as you hit a log, just kind of give it a little bit of a jump with your reel, and then just kind of kill it. Reel it, and if you hit something, if you hit a piece of hard cover, stop it and let it go and let it just die. And a lot of times that's when you'll get your bites. And the third, and I don't throw this a lot, I don't do this a lot, but if you need to, and you're fishing colder water where you might be able to get those fish's attention with that swim jig just going through there, but then you need something to make them fire on it, you can throw it out there, reel it, and then every now and then just pump it one time with your rod, or pump it one time with your reel. And that's very good for colder water. So that's the presentation and the hook set. Hook set and the bite. The bite, a lot of times you're reeling it, it's kind of like a spinnerbait bite on steroids. Best way I can really explain it is in between a spinnerbait bite and a jig bite. It kind of thumps it like a jig, but then it kind of loads up on it. And sometimes you'll just be working it and they'll thump it and your line will go slack. And they'll hit it, they'll be chasing it behind it, hit it, and it run to you. That's when you really catch up to them and swing. But sometimes, or most of the time, you're just working it and then you feel it thump and your rod kind of loads up, and then you slack line, which that's the hook set I like. I like slack line hook set. There's a lot of videos online about that. That's great. Slack line hook set is my favorite. And another bite is just reeling it, and it kind of feels like you hooked a piece of grass. But if you're not fishing around grass, you know that's a fish. And if you are fishing around grass, if you think you get a bite, set the hook. Because there ain't no telling how many times I've thought I've gotten a bite and set the hook and ended up being a key fish in a tournament or just fun fishing. Just very good fish that just kind of comes up, eats it, and doesn't just stop and turn or swim right at me. It just kind of swims barely with the swim jig. And it feels like you got a piece of grass or something on it. But the hook set is the same for fluorocarbon and braid. Even though with braid, I don't think you can set the hook too hard with a swim jig. I mean, if you watch Gerald Swindle set the hook with a swim jig, he almost hops whenever he sets the hook on a swim jig, whenever he slack lines them. It's working it when it eats it, you reel down maybe once, and you go down, and then you come up and meet the fish right about here, and keep on going through. And that's the best way to do it. And you don't have to play them or nothing. Like Gerald Swindle said, you're in my house now, Jack, in the boat, in the carpet, done with it. The no-jack swim jig, why they call it a no-jack, because it has an absolute unit of a hook. You get one pegged with this thing and you know you got him good. I mean, 6-pounder, if I felt I had a 6 or 7-pounder, really. If I felt I had that fish hooked good, I'd wait until he made a run to jump beside the boat. I'd put him in the carpet. Hook set, it's really whatever you do with a Texas rig or a jig, do that, but as hard as you can. Everything you got, you can put into that hook set. And you will not lose fish because you set the hook too hard. That's for fluorocarbon and braid. Braid, it gives you a little bit more leeway to kind of panic and just set the hook a little bit softer, but like I think it was 2 days ago, or no, 3 days ago. It was Saturday. We were over there at Lake Lot in my boat. Right after we put the new trolling motor on it, I get up there, throw on a boat ramp with this exact swim jig, that one, and I had it on 4 carp, which this fish would have got off either way. There was a voice crack, but this fish would have got off either way, but I was throwing on that rod right there because we were fishing around more of grass than anything, and I needed something a little bit longer cast. I threw it up on that boat ramp, started working it back. It was one of them weird bites. It didn't really feel like a fish, but I kind of panicked and set the hook, didn't set it hard enough. Not at all. That fish comes up, it's probably 5.5 pounds, jumps up and spits the hook, spits the jig, slings it out of its mouth. You really gotta swing on these fish, on a swim jig. But we're already at 21 minutes, so if you have any questions about a swim jig or anything that you need me to clear up, just let me know in the comments, and I will be reading the comments. So I'll see you later. That's how to fish a swim jig. Just let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I'll see you later.